everyone? Way the Unknown here, and welcome back to another episode of Geeking Out, where we basically discuss everything nerd and geek related. I am here with music artist, cosplayer, all around nerd, Igiko. Igiko, can you just? I'm gonna subdue your tongue
Hello,
twister.
everyone. My name is Igiko Pop. I am a professional pop and opera vocalist who specializes in video game and anime music. And I'm
Nice.
based here in Portland, Oregon. And we're in my bedroom.
Then, gotta love it. So again, Igiko, thank you for coming on to talk about what it's like being a music artist, how you got into it, what it's been like, the songs you've done, the experiences, and all that stuff. So to begin, what made you just in general want to get into singing?
So it's kind of crazy. So I grew up in a family of musicians. Both my mother and my father were professional vocalist musicians over in Alaska. So yeah, I'm Alaskan. And so with the snow and limited resources, a lot of what I grew up with through singing was just kind of being with my family. I always knew I wanted to be a vocalist, and the crazy thing is that um going through a lot of the music that I listened to become a musician came from video games. So like for example, last night I was at the Sonic Symphony. It was so
Oh,
sick.
that looks
Best
fun.
best time ever. There's a video out there of me headbanging with a vector toy. It's awesome. And no joke, like songs from like Sonic the Hedgehog or Final Fantasy, um especially the classical music from like again like Final Fantasy's operas or even
Especially
old
10th
PS1
gen.
games of the time. And it was something that I used not only as of course a way to like have fun, but I used it as a tool to learn how to sing. So growing up with my twin sister, Kao Iconic Allie, who is also a professional musician, talented fashion designer and artist, we grew up kind of singing together while I was playing games. So like for example, I'm a huge Dance Dance Revolution fan. Unfortunately, I don't play with my feet. I play with my hands. So I guess I'm like a boo lame DDR person. But I would always treat my games like albums. So like it's like, oh, I want to listen to the Max 2 soundtrack, so we'll put that on. And then as we're going, me and my sister would just start singing. And then around 6 years old, we're harmonizing and we're figuring out complex chord structures and vocal harmonies, all just from games. So it really just became a natural progression throughout my career. And going further into like when I lived in Japan for like a hot minute studying abroad, it opened me up to even more kind of culture. Oh no, pardon. South Park episode, guys. The what was it? Warcraft.
I know
But
which I know which episode.
it was such
Me
a
too.
good one. But anywho, going further, um, when I was living in Japan, I was then introduced to Harajuku fashion and kind of making connections from the games that I grew up with. Like for example, and I might kind of ramble on a little bit, so pardon me if
Uh,
it's like
no,
whoa.
no, no, no
Um,
worry. This is called geeking
Awesome.
out for a reason.
So, for example, I didn't realize that that Harajuku fashion, for example, which is completely opposite from music, but it's like a huge influence for me. So, for example, Herbs, which was a Sims spin-off in like the early 2000s, it was like
I've
Black
never
Eyed
heard.
Peas and everything. I would sing along with those soundtracks. Granted, it's Simlish, so it was all gibberish. But there were subliminal things with like the fashion influence. So like I would always like to go to the Harajuku district in that game because the music was awesome. And then I moved to Japan, realized, oh wow, this is actually a thing people wear, and I've already loved the fashion. So now, throughout the last few years, I've also included influences of J fashion on top of my music. So it's kind of like
Basically,
a as I
stuff
get
that you
older,
do
a
at
full
home.
circle thing as like molding into the musician and artist I am. So yeah.
So it sounds like when you were living in Japan, it sounded like you felt like you were at home because, like everything combined into one thing when it comes to Japan, especially with like when you go to Akihabara, the anime capital of the world in
Oh
Japan, for
my
example.
gosh. I've scored so many deals. It's crazy over there. No, it's crazy. It really was more like a validation. So otaku culture and anime culture in general has become a really huge thing. It's now mainstream. Whereas when I was growing up in the like late 90s, early 2000s, it
You made
was
fun of it.
way more niche, way more scrutinized. And I would remember like getting bullied for like liking Naruto, which funny thing is Naruto's openings on Cartoon Network on Toonami helped me and my sister learn how to pronounce Japanese
Oh,
perfectly just from going through and singing every opening and ending that would pop out. So going to Japan and hearing, for example, going to a ramen shop and hearing "We are fighting dreamers to come" is
oh man, my age is showing
it's
hearing
the
that song.
craziest, it's the most mind-blowing and funniest like thing. It's so validating. And so it's like I like to think of Japan as a huge awakening for myself, a validation that as I move forward as an artist, no matter where I live, no matter where I go, I can still feel comfortable knowing that there's a huge community of people who support not only the stuff I like, but support the stuff I do. So yeah, no, Japan is awesome. Man, I've traveled all around the world, and like it's so cool. It's so cool seeing
And
how like nerd culture in different places, like how it all just combines, you know. So
we'll
yeah.
definitely get more into that about what it's like traveling while singing. Um, so Ikigo, wait, how do you pronounce your name one more
Ig-
time? Lou?
Igiko
I-
pop.
Igiko.
Igiko pop.
So young
Yeah.
Igiko with her sister. Shout out to your sister, by the way.
Hey.
Um, watching anime, playing video games, and like harmonizing with them because I think a good example, and I'm sure you can relate to this, is a lot of people did this was when Kingdom Hearts came out, they would sing to the intro song. I can't remember the name because it's been a
Uh,
while.
Simple and Clean or Hikari by Hikaru Utada. Uh
Yeah, and, like
yeah.
everyone when that game came out, everyone was singing that. So I imagine that was probably one of the songs you would sing too.
Oh, absolutely. Hikaru, I'm not joking. So like when Kingdom Hearts first came out, Kingdom Hearts was like an awakening. So shout out to Sora and Woody in the back, I guess. But I remember we rented it at Blockbuster. Now we knew about the game already from
Blockbuster.
was it Mickey? What's the name of that show? House of
How's it?
Mouse. It was a House of Mouse Halloween VHS, and they had a commercial for Kingdom Hearts on it, and we were enamored by it because we already grew up with anime Japanese culture. And oh, I forgot to mention this. It's kind of important. My grandfather was actually a huge collaborator with reconnecting Japan and America after World War II. He helped fund
Really?
and create Japan Airlines. And has an Order of the Rising Sun, which is currently somewhere in Alaska. It's one of the highest honors you can have by the Japanese government. So I already grew up with this appreciation for anime and video games. It was already instilled in my
Thank
DNA.
for your
So
grandpa.
like when Kingdom
Thanks for your
Hearts came out,
grandpa.
when I saw the VHS, and Allie and I saw the VHS, we're like, oh, we got to try this. And no joke, that song, Simple and Clean, was an awakening. Like I've never heard perfect vocals. EDM is cool. Like Sora is like he's flying in the air. What's going on? And no joke, I again, like everybody, we would, pause the DVD, restart a new game, listen to the song, turn it off, turn it, and go over and over and over. And Hikaru Utada, her influence on my vocal technique and my sister's vocal technique is huge. Like all of those vocal runches, all that stuff, I learned how to do that just from listening to Kingdom Hearts music. So it's like it's crazy how something like Kingdom Hearts, or even just like um man, I don't know, maybe not the same impact, but for me another awakening was Final Fantasy X 2. I know some people don't like it. I love it
I
because
do.
like literally the opening was like, I know world
Oh
like,
yeah.
like dead ass. One of the reasons I'm a vocalist is because of Yuna, baby. So like
Real
Square Enix
emotion.
just has this allure of great music and like flashiness that's like, you're hooked. You can't, you're like, it's amazing. And so uh and how many people it influenced, not only just like in daily life but like artists like myself. It's crazy.
Oh yeah, no. Speaking of Final Fantasy, yeah, no, I remember playing Final Fantasy X the first time and then seeing the intro real motion sung by quote unquote Yuna at first.
Yeah.
No, I mean it's good. It's good to know that like these have had inspirations for me, and I can like, for example, seeing your video where you're singing the intro to Elfen Lied, for example, like that, like oh wow.
Oh yeah.
Something to
Oh
get that, 'cause
yeah.
that's like opera, right? That's opera right
Oh
there, and
yes.
to hit high notes is not easy. It's like,
No.
um, young you and your sister just doing this as kids, and then eventually, when did you really start to take the singing seriously? Like, okay, I like doing this as a kid. Like, I want to actually make this into a career type of
Absolutely. So I knew since I was 6 that I wanted to pursue music to a higher degree as my career. And so after high school, me and my sister went to University of Idaho, and there I got my bachelor's of vocal performance. So yes, singing, you can get a degree in singing. And so I took it to the next level where I wanted to study everything and everything, like all of it about vocals, so that I felt prepared enough to, when I left, of course, the pandemic happened, but when I left college, that I'd be fully
it.
prepared as a professional. And so it's crazy. So like I've always had, so I'm also an opera singer. So as someone who, like, when I was in middle school, I would be singing in choir, me and my sister, and we would go to like national levels of like classical music competitions. Allie and I won a couple competitions doing opera duets in high school. And so I already knew I wanted to pursue opera on top of pop music, because um if you know how to sing opera, you pretty much know how to sing everything. So I took my training and I just evolved it to the next level. So I knew I wanted to do opera vocals and contemporary vocals in the field of video games. And so I've just been continuing to show that off every time I get the chance. And hopefully I'll do some more opera vocals in video games, because it's one of my favorite things to do.
There's a lot. If you like, for example, speaking of opera and video games, you got Parasite Eve
Oh yeah.
is one, and you got Devil May Cry 4 when Kyrie is. I don't know if you
Oh
ever.
yes, Out of Darkness. That's one I want to do at some point too. That's a great one.
You know, speaking of opera and video games, you don't see a whole lot of it, to be honest. Like
Yeah,
the only
it
thing I think of is Parasite Eve. Well, if you count Resident Evil Zero, when you hear the opera at the beginning of the game before the train gets attacked. Other than that,
yeah.
you got Devil May Cry when Kyrie is singing at the intro of the game.
Yeah, so it's interesting how classical music and video games have had a substantial history together. So even going back to the retro era with the 4 bits, 8 bits, 16 bits, those drives could only have like 4 channels in them, or 5 depending on what system you used. And a lot of composers back in the day, like Tom Fallon or Nobuo Uematsu, they implemented and they used their knowledge, their musical knowledge, to emulate those sounds. So for example, if you look at, let's say, Final Fantasy again, with Final Fantasy 6 and the opera Maria Draco. So they did, back in the day, have influences of classical music. Now, not like, for example, with Maria and Draco being an overt opera, there was also like classical influences in games such as Castlevania, with the, da 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 bloody tears
Oh
kind of
yes,
dealio.
I know that. Yeah,
And with opera and classical, the evolution as the technology has become more and more advanced has become really exciting. Now, I I personally don't see, I see a lot more, I guess, than maybe let's say the 2000s. But I did notice like, and this is just my opinion. It's not like a fact or anything. But it's like I find that the influences from classical music are
Mhm.
evolving in different ways. So not necessarily like just straight ha ha ha. Like for example, Bloodborne. You have those boosh boosh ha
Oh,
ha choruses. You
I'm sorry.
have Final Fantasy Rebirth and those swelling choruses of Sephiroth. So it's more like not so much a standard with classical. It's more of an evolution of the genre moving through as technology progresses. So it's to me, it seems like overt classical opera is much more harder to find. Whereas if you find opera strewn throughout, so like let's say Persona with the arias, or Severoth at the end of remake where you're boosh boosh, you know. Um, I feel like it's not dead. It's there. It's just you gotta really listen for it, kind of
Oh,
deal.
I wholeheartedly agree. So back to starting the singing as like a full career. Do you remember what it was like when you like officially pursued this as a career in singing?
Yeah. So when it comes to what I currently do, so as a someone who works in the scene of like video games and anime performances as well as indie games, I hate to say it, I really do. The first big break I got was right when I turned, it was like the summer before sophomore year of college. And I get the game Yandere Simulator. So I
Um,
know.
I'm familiar with,
So
never played
that
it.
son
I
of a
don't really. I
bitch, that rat, I hate him. He owes me so much money. like
don't.
he
You got screwed
we
out of a gig.
oh yeah, so hold on now. One step at a time. So what happened is um around 2015, I believe. It was 2014, 2015. Yandere Sim blew up and he was asking for help. He wanted artists, he wanted musicians. And so being in college and just turned 18 and so like me and my sister reached out and we're like, hey, we're opera vocalists, we're pop vocalists, here's some examples of our singing. He liked it, and so her and I did some opera vocals for the Tsubaso Kudasai Yandere Dev trailer, the black, like the cartoon one. So like the that's me. Granted, I
Really?
recorded that on a crummy ass mic in my sorority's basement, but I mean, it definitely was a big moment. It has millions of views on it. It really helped push that game forward. Now, granted, he was a bitch to work with. I hate him, and I left shortly after because he sucks, and also doesn't understand Japanese music whatsoever. But I did have time like a few years beforehand, like after that, where I focused more on my craft. So like going abroad and learning opera in Zurich, Switzerland, going to Japan, kind of performing in Japan, of course. So I did do some small performances in the underground scene in Shibuya. So that was awesome. And then now, well, at least, so the pandemic happened, right? So wasn't able to like really perform for like 2 years. So really up until since like 2021, 2022, have I really been able to like implement the stuff that I want to, that I'm actually getting songs that I want to produce in high quality, performing at Anime Expo, performing, internationally. It's just kind of starting to happen. And unfortunately, it's all because at least because of one little tiny part of that awful game. But yeah, I digress.
Mhm.
Boo, fuck that guy.
You are allowed to cuss, by the way. Just
Boo! Fuck that guy! Fuck Yondev. He's a piece of shit.
uh,
But yeah, so currently that's where I'm at right now. My sister has been doing a lot of work with Square and Konami, and I've been doing a lot of work in the States, performing at conventions and doing minor work in indie games and a lot of EDM music with DJ Cyril, who was like a huge influence to me growing up as a kid. So
kind
yeah.
of like kind of like reminds me of like like with the music you're talking about, it kind of reminds me like the music and vibes you would hear in games like Jet Set Radio and Jet Set Future.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah,
I
it kind of
love
vibe.
Yeah, no, the vibe I like to want is an encapsulation of that sound from that period between 1998 and 2006. So like all that awesome pop punk, those hip hop influences, the opera, the that punk sound from Sonic. That's really what my music and my artistry is entails, because that's the stuff that I grew up with, I love, and nostalgia is crazy, and people love to hear that kind of stuff too. So
You don't really hear it nowadays unless you like go on YouTube and specifically search for it.
yeah.
I'm the type of person who supports artists who do covers of songs from like old video games, or they come up with their own lyrics from video games that even have,
Oh,
you
that's so
know,
fun. I
like
love that. That's great.
like for example, someone did a cover of Yuffie's theme song from Final Fantasy VII a few years back because
Mhm.
no lyrics, just the music. So I think that's pretty cool.
Yeah, that's a really fun way of adding your own flair to the songs.
So let's see here. So do you remember like the first song, well, aside from the Yacht Simulator, what was like, so I know you kind of don't, I know you count that, but you don't count that. Like for you, what felt like your true breaking moment of
Oh
like,
man, I
what
think
was the
for
song what
me,
was the song that got you recognized?
I think for me it has to be probably the song "Fuck Ken Penders." Um, that was like the
Ooh.
start. So funny story. So I've had that song. So I don't know if the audience knows. So Ken Penders is a comic book artist, American comic book artist. He worked with Archie Comics in the 90s and 2000s. He worked on the Sonic comics. He is notoriously infamous in the community for um doing, it's kind of weird to explain, but basically he sued Sega and Archie for the rights for his characters, which were like 1,000. He made a whole universe of characters basically, and he won. And so everyone lost a lot of characters they liked. Rules were implemented within the Sonic comic books, and I guess in general. Like for example, Sonic can't have a girlfriend. Sonic can't cry or show overt emotion.
Even
Uh,
though
just
he's
to
got
name a couple. And so he's very, no one likes him. Uh, and so I always wanted to write the song since I was in high school. It's called "Fuck Ken Penders," and I was playing. It was my 20-year I had like a 20-year anniversary of games that I played when I was 6, because that was like the huge moment for me. And I was playing through Sonic Heroes, and
good
trying to
game.
get all the Chaos Emeralds for the final battle. And I was like humming through it, and then it just hit me, and I wrote down the lyrics as I was like singing through the lyrics. I wrote it down, and I got it produced in Portland. And funny thing is during that same time, the Sonic movie, the second movie, came out, and because Knuckles is in it, and Knuckles is like Ken Pender's baby, like that's his thing. See, I'm not like, he's really crazy about that guy. So he was threatening on Twitter to sue Paramount for the rights of XYZ. And so it was like perfect fucking timing, because as soon as that song dropped, as soon as he posted that, everything connected, and out of nowhere this song blew up. It's currently has like 25,000 views on YouTube. It's the most streamed song
If
I
you don't mind,
have.
if I'm able
Um
to show a clip of that song
oh
on here.
yeah, go for it.
Okay, I just wanted to ask first. That's fucking hilarious.
Oh yeah, no, go for it. It's awesome.
You're again, Mr. O.C. Got another lawsuit to squash the beef. I'm the holy art thou sender, a defective reskin bearer. Love to tantalize a childhood game. Twitter talking shit to claim your fame. It's the biggest cringe offender. The more success you see, Weston.
Every time I sing it, any person he's like, yeah, fuck Kim Penders. And I'm going to a comic book. I'm performing at a Comic Con in Idaho next week.
Oh yeah,
So
Jim State.
Yeah, Gem State. I'm gonna be at Gem State performing, and so like, it's the perfect place.
That's that's awesome. And honestly, this is not the first time that someone tried to sue Sega. Speaking of music, you're familiar with the band, it's a one-hit wonder band from the '90s, Delight. You know their
Yeah,
song.
Delight. Didn't they make the original Sonic soundtrack, right?
No, they sung the song. They're known for "Groove Is in the Heart."
Oh, okay, okay.
So yeah, they're speaking of. She tried to sue Sega for I can't remember the name of the game. It came out in the '90s. She tried to sue them because she claimed that one of their female characters looked like her. She lost.
Oh,
Yeah, speaking of people suing Sega back in the day.
oh, Sega can't catch a break. Can't catch a break.
No, 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 no. So you also mentioned that you perform at conventions. What was your
Yes.
first convention that you performed at, and what was that like?
So, if we want to take it way back, now not under my official Igiko Pop name, but the first convention that I performed at was at SenchiCon in Anchorage, Alaska,
I've
back
been
in
to Chicon.
2009 or 2010. So I was like 13 at the time. And it was me and my sister, and we were doing a performance. It was like a Lucky Star cosplay skit. And we were performing Single Ladies because that song just came out. And so we were the first, according to Kira Buckland, who used to run the convention, who's now a famous
Voice actor,
voice
known for
actress. She
super.
told us, she was like, "That's the first time we've seen a like an actually like performed skit with like the vocals already recorded and everything." It was like, "Well, thank you." So that I guess that would be one, but and of course there was like a tiny convention in Kenai, Alaska, where I'm from, which we did perform at. We sang a bunch of covers of like anime music with the background tracks, and people liked it. I thought it was cool. But in terms of under this label, the convention we first performed at was at WasabiCon in Portland. And it was literally just when I founded the band, and so I was grateful for that convention for giving me the opportunity.
Shout
It
out to
was,
WasabiCon.
huh?
I said shout out to WasabiCon for that.
Yeah, what's up, con? Yeah, so that one, it was a great like opportunity to like start with performing my original music in a convention setting. Of course, reading the room, performing accordingly, so not calling it fuck Ken Penders in front of children. You don't want to get Ash and Misty
Oh,
mad in
don't,
front of
want
Pikachu.
children to ask their parents, "What did they just say, mommy?"
Yeah, yeah, exactly. So like I think it was a really fun start. Now, the biggest convention that we performed at was last year at Anime Expo.
Ooh,
And
don't
I'm
you let anybody get
grateful that
that.
I landed that gig. I'm so grateful to SPJA for the opportunity. Now that was a real eye opener for performances.
Oh, I'll
Um,
bet.
oh man, I feel like that was the truly like the best convention I performed at.
What did you?
Literally
Oh,
packed at capacity shows. Both days we performed. I realized as a professional musician, it is way easier to sing when there's thousands of eyes instead of like five. So that was a really great learning moment as a vocalist. But not only that, I was able to make tons of connections at the convention with people I was already friends with and newer artists or people that I knew on Instagram that I never really talked to before. And a lot of it was through Harajuku fashion. Um, so like I'm already friends with a couple fashion designers in Tokyo, specifically for like ACDC Rag and 6% Doki Doki, which are like the founders of like Harajuku fashion, like one of the key fashion brands. I'm friends with them. So it was really nice seeing both ACDC Rag at Anime Expo, but also Cyber Girl, her name is Christina, and she is a Harajuku rainbow fashion designer for Candy
I know
Trap.
Cyber Girl.
Yeah,
Maybe,
yeah, yeah.
maybe
So
Cyber
I'm friends with Christina Candy Trap. We met at Los Angeles. She knew me and my sister already from Instagram, because we were on Hooked on the Look together. She did a show, we did a show, so it's like people know who we are there. And she gave me an opportunity to perform at KomoriCon this last year, opening her fashion brand, and that was really cool. And I wouldn't
That
have
was
been able
you.
to do that without going to Los Angeles and talking to them. And so I'm hoping we're going back to Los Angeles again this year. Because it was really fun. And I think the more shows that I do at that level, like baby, it'd be sick.
That's now I gotta ask, because I also like talking about conventions. How did you manage to get through the chaotic lines and crowds at Anime Expo? I
Oh.
saw videos of it last year, like, holy shit.
Yeah, no kidding, dude. Like, okay, so first off, I gotta say it, I'm a bitch when it comes to managing my brand. A absolute bitch. I'm Charlotte Pickles. So like, I had like an Excel sheet written down with all the contacts, everything. Here's the hotel. Had a black book, like ran it like a business. And even with our industry badge status, our industry status, um we still couldn't get into certain things at certain times. So gratefully, well, I found this out on day 2, but there's like tunnels in the Los Angeles Convention Center that special guests can go through, so you don't have to wait in the huge line. I didn't know that until day 2, so day 1 was a mess. We get there at like 9 a.m. because again, I'm a bitch. I need to talk to the sound people. I need to know what everything is, you know, and me and the boys, so Connor, my partner, who's our guitar player, and Max, and who's our bass player, and Vince, our drummer, we're all waiting to get into the entertainment hall for to talk to the beer garden and the sound crew for the entertainment hall, because we had 2 days performing in that specific section of the convention center, and our industry status was not enough to get through. You needed an exhibition ticket, which was one step higher. That was like the people in charge of like Trash Taste and all those guys. Um, so we had to wait for like an hour outside the expo there, crowded. And then as soon as 10 a.m. hit, everyone starts running. I go, okay, this is where I die. I had to be the Sarah Song the Amen. And I just ran through. And thankfully we got in. But that day 1 was nuts. Our poor bass player, Max, he almost got crowd crushed. Like at noon when that awful surge happened. So like, yeah, we ended up not hanging out as much at the convention after day 1, but it's really, god, it's all about planning and making sure you're communicating with your bandmates. It was only 4 of us at Anime Expo, and we had a whole list of gear and totes and insurance and taxes to California and all of it. So you just gotta keep a level head, be a little bit of a bitch, but don't yell at your bandmates. That's the advice I have.
That's good advice, and also I do agree for someone who does work for conventions when it comes to doing media, and content creating. It is good to have connections. Don't abuse it, but it's
No,
good to have connections, because if you're nice and good with those connections, they can eventually will help you branch out to where they'll
exactly.
give you their connections.
Exactly. So it's always good to be cordial and level-headed. But when it comes to getting to point A to point E, make sure you know everyone knows where they are. And
Especially with those.
we didn't even have cell. I had no cell service or internet at the convention center at all. So it was like,
Checks out for cons.
yeah, and you know, I think we survived without losing any merchandise or any instruments and had an awesome time. So if we could do it again like that next year, maybe a little less, that'd be good.
Well, but now you know, like, hey, there's to quote Avatar: The Last Airbender, you know about the secret tunnels.
That's right, secret tunnels. That's right.
Oh man. For those who are new to this channel, there's a lot of nerd references, so hope you're all can stand that. So Anime Expo being your biggest convention to perform at, do you have any dream conventions you would love to perform at that are not
So,
like in this general California, Washington, Oregon, Idaho vicinity?
for sure. So there's a few places over on the East Coast that I want to perform at. Of course, like Anime New York, like New York City Anime, that one, Boston Anime, Magfest. I do want to go to Magfest because I have a lot of friends in the Jersey area. Like love to go there. And there's one I tried getting into this year called VGM Con. Now, I didn't know that VGM Con, Video Game Music Convention, was mainly covers. I didn't know that. I thought that it was for composers and musicians to show their music. Um So I would like to perform there. But I might have to talk to the guy a little bit more because I do covers. Don't get me wrong, I do covers. I have a lot of awesome covers going to be coming out at Gem State next week. But a lot of my music is originals based off of certain IPs. So like White Claudia, Silent Hill. It's not a cover, but it's about the games.
It's all in my mind, or at least that's what I tell myself. I've been living in eternal hell, and I can't tell why. There's so many questions, but there's more answers than I realize.
So if I want to do that one again, I think I just need to probably talk to the guy and see. Because if they want covers, it's fine. But like, I feel like originality is much more valuable, I guess, when it comes to music. And I don't mean to sound like a pretentious asshole. I might have a bachelor's in music, but like, it's more like, isn't it special to hear something new? You know what I mean? That's what I mean. That's really what it boils down to.
But and as I always say, there's nothing wrong with that. Like originality is a good to me. Again, for example, look at Final Fantasy Rebirth. They added a new original song called No Promises to Keep.
Yeah, and it's fantastic. It's a beautiful piece of music. So
Um,
exactly.
have you also considered Dragon Con? Because I know some buddies of mine. Like I said, they're a punk rock nerd band. They got to play. They're semi well known, and they got to play. Have you ever considered Dragon Con?
Dragon Con. Where's Dragon Con located?
Dragon Con is located in Atlanta, Georgia. It's basically a
Ooh.
party con held in like three hotels.
Oh,
It,
it's like that. Okay.
it's a well-known It's a well-known convention. If you haven't heard of it,
I've been stuck in Alaska and the West Coast for a hot
yeah, no, I
minute.
highly recommend checking out Dragon Con because I know they do. I know they have musical performances too from bands and artists and everything.
Awesome. Yeah, for sure. No, I'd love to do some more East Coast stuff. Got to figure out the train system over here.
Oh, yeah. The train. I can I say one thing that the train system in Portland is something else.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I try to get around myself and sometimes it's like what color do I go on? Yellow, green,
Oh,
red, they go
blue.
the same direction, I think.
So also since you've like also listened to Japanese music, have you sung any like songs in original Japanese dubbed?
Yes. So with my vocal degree, with my experience, I'm able to sing in a ton of different languages that I don't personally speak or understand. So like I do speak beginner conventional Japanese, but I can sing Japanese very well. I understand the phonetics of it. So I've done one original song in Japanese called Boundaries.
眺めてた壁がボロボロになったのに君が気にしないままで君から
And there are more that I want to translate into Japanese. I do have a lot of friends over in Tokyo who are awesome at transcribing music, so we're going to continue doing that trend as we go through. But not only just Japanese, but other languages too. So like Italian, German, French, Spanish, all of that. So it's really helpful tool learning pronunciation. And again, all that really stems from, like I said, listening to Naruto, listening to Bleach openings, singing through them, understanding the phonetics. And when I
Sure.
perform in Japan, people like it's solid Japanese. People can understand what I'm singing, and it's clear and fluent sounding. So yeah, I thoroughly enjoy singing in Japanese a lot. In fact, we have my sister and I are singing a couple songs in Japanese over at Gem State. So like a cover of Fairy Dreaming from Geno Cyber, which is an awful, gory nightmare anime from the 80s, but damn, the opening's good. That kind of thing. And yeah, a few anime endings in Japanese from Ichigo Mashimoto, Strawberry Marshmallow, and such.
Nice. Um, so personally, aside from like mainstream anime openings and endings, what's some of your favorite Japanese dubbed intros and outros from anime?
Yeah. So, my personal favorite anime of all time, and not a lot of people know about it, is called Strawberry Marshmallow or Ishigo
I've
Mashimado.
I've
Uh,
never heard of.
so think of it this way. Think of Metalocalypse, the energy of Metalocalypse, but instead of like a bunch of a metal band, it's like four middle schoolers and their sister. And so so basically it's a slice of life of just friends getting together, hanging out,
I think I've seen.
doing hood rat shit, all that stuff over in Southeast Japan or so. And the opening was it, I don't remember if it's Strawberry Connection or so, or we're the Strawberry Girls or something, but it's like this uwu kawaii nante sonna koto iicha dame desu, like really uwu idol. And
Oh,
then it goes from that opening of just pure and again, I'm a DDR person, so I really love hardcore, happy hardcore EDM. So like going from da 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 to the ending called Classmate, and Classmate is a ballad, slightly operatic track about when you're older and you're thinking about your friends and like what are they doing. And so it's this huge like musical tonal shift between the two. And that's what I find as an adult watching the show. So it's like beautiful, man. You go from like unsa unsa like adolescence, and then you have reality adulthood in this beautiful track. So I those are my personal two favorite when it comes to niche anime that no one really knows about. Like a huge part of my personalities from that show. So yeah, I highly recommend it. There's a lot of memes in that show that became popular 2 years ago. So you might see one and go, oh, it's from that. Okay. Like for example, this is an American joke. That girl with the pigtails. That's her name's Mew, and she's like the if I can describe her in Metalocalypse terms, she's the bass player guy. I forget his name, but just
oh,
pure unadulterated chaos.
I wouldn't know. I haven't watched Metalocalypse at all in a hot minute.
Oh,
So.
you're good. I love comparing those two, even though they're completely opposites. It's just like the energy's the exact same.
So you've also said you work for video game. You've worked like done music for video games, right?
Yeah, so I've done like minor indie work on like mobile tracks. My sister, on the other hand, now she's worked with Square. She's worked with she
Who's
lived in Japan for 3 years, so
the
she had
company?
much more connections to that. So like she's worked with Square. She was working with Konami. She's done a few voices in like ooh gotcha games. And I guess her biggest stint that she's done so far was working with Konami on their DDR division. So like doing work with Konami at the actual DDR competitions. So
Oh
I
wow.
personally I was in the background helping her out because I knew everything about DDR, and she had some questions, but yeah. Yeah, no, I've been meaning to do much more work now that are the music's kind of flowing through. So currently I'm looking for more vocal work for games, but my sister is continuing to do that while overseas. So yeah.
And you both got into this at the same time, right? Or were you
Oh
first?
yeah. Oh yeah, absolutely. No, we both grew up loving everything about like video games, anime, uh Japan culture. So like both kind of working together, like we're performing together next week at Gem State. And it's crazy cuz like when I'm not singing, when I'm singing just by myself it's fine, but when I'm with her it's like crazy, like blows up. So one thing I'd love to do at some point is like do some vocal work with her on some games, cuz like when we're together it's nuts. Um
That'd be
yeah.
that'd be pretty cool. Because so the one I can think of right now where two people are technically singing is the song "A Thousand Words" from Final Fantasy X too,
Oh
when it's both
yeah.
Lynn singing.
Oh yeah. No, that one's an awesome. I remember we'd sing with that one together too. But
It's insane.
yeah, no, she does a lot of work over there, and her partner, so her partner is Indigo, the Big
Oh,
Chungus.
I'm familiar with Igiko.
Yeah, so Big
Yeah,
Chungus and
I
Huggy
still
Wuggy,
need to I still need to set a time with them for an interview because I've also followed their work too. Really good work.
Oh yeah, no, Indigo. So her and Indigo been doing work internationally, like working with the companies, and I work more on like the indie scene. So I'd love to do more mainstream and kind of connect the connections, like you said.
Oh yeah.
So it's to be announced. A lot of the stuff that I do right now, though, is work with EDM artists. So I have a few songs I'm working with. Some new stuff with DJ Cyril Hush Hush. I have a song coming out with a Ukrainian DJ, and then another song coming out with a South American artist too. So a lot of the stuff I've been doing currently is doing like EDM, happy hardcore DDR music for like Beat Saber or like that sort of thing. So a lot of my music's going to like rhythm games. So
Oh,
yeah.
it beat
Now
Saber
I'm
now.
not joking. My Cyril song "I Feel Alive" is so fun to play on Beat Saber. Like bam, bam, bam.
Nice. So you also, speaking of collabs, I've noticed you've collabed with people such as Under the Deco Tree. What was that like
Yes.
with the nerdy jazz band Under the Deco Tree? Great people bunch.
Oh, oh yes. So UDT is friends with the Igiko Pop crew. In fact, Max, their bass player, is our bass player as well. Thank you, Max. You
Nice.
rock. It's really fun. So the reason why I work with UDT, and this is not the sole reason, this is one reason, is one, they're fucking awesome jazz musicians. But
Oh yeah.
two, the school that I went to, University of Idaho, is the Lionel Hampton School of Music. It's a jazz school. It does jazz and classical. That's why I was like, yeah. So I spent a lot of years, like hanging out with jazz artists, going to jazz fest, performing, learning jazz, like the basics of jazz. So I'm not a jazz singer, but like I have tons of friends who are. And so when I found out UDT was here in Portland, because as an artist when I was beginning, it was like so freaking hard to get gigs in town. And
Oh,
and as an artist who does video game and anime music, there's not a lot of artists around who do that kind of thing or are themed. Whereas we met UDT at WasabiCon and quickly became friends. I was like, okay, we got a gig here. Do you want to join us? Oh, cool. And since then, the last couple years, we built a pretty solid working relationship as musicians to the point where we have collaborated together. We've done 3 tracks. So Beneath the Mask from Persona 5, um Ite, which I don't remember the person who made the song, but it's very good. And then God Knows mixed with Donkey Kong. And I love God Knows as that Haruhi Suzumiya, my God. And that was fun because as someone who's not a jazz vocalist, I have so much respect for people who are jazz people, jazz musicians, jazz vocalists, because jazz is a completely different ball game from opera because you have to listen for cues, you have to listen for timing. There's complexities within the music that you have to listen for. And as someone who is not that, I had so much fun kind of digging through the music, figuring out what it was. And because of that, we are going to do some more music together at some point. Yeah. It's going to be over at Beaver State Comic Con. So
I
over
I
in May,
oh
on May
God.
11th, we're gonna do some music together. and that's going to be really fun. And so yeah, I have nothing but respect for UDT. I would love at some point to take them on a tour, because we are currently, since Anime Expo, we have been gaining a lot more gigs, a lot more eyes, and so I would love at some point to take UDT along with the ride. And yeah, it's wonderful. I have nothing but respect for them.
UDT, if you guys are watching this, I
Like,
think one of
listen to
the
their music. Like, they're
oh,
so
I've
fucking
heard of
good.
I've heard of the music. I've even had them on the channel before too. They're really great people. The one song I would like to see them do, because it's probably one of my favorite songs, is the One Up Superstar from Super Mario Odyssey.
Oh, is that
Like,
the it's time to jump up in the air?
yeah, I would love to see because
Oh
it's
yeah.
considered a jazz
Oh
song. I
yeah.
would love to see them play that song. This is a
Oh
really
yeah.
good.
I'll hit Eric up. Eric is the man, like the leader of UDT. I'll hit Eric up.
Eric, if you're watching
That would be
this,
really fun. I think that would be awesome. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge.
say no more. Um, so you said you've gone to schooling like this. What was it like going to schooling for this music?
For music, so the it's kind of interesting. So arts in general is something that you kind of evolve with as you, the more passion you have for, the more you evolve with. Music school is very much you live, breathe, eat music 24/7. So if you're not practicing, which when I was in I don't do this anymore, but I should, I would be practicing 3 hours a day in a practice room. On top of that, I'd have book to book classes of music theory, which is the actual understanding of the structure of music. Aural skills, which is hearing music, which is easy. If you play DDR, it's so easy. And then opera studies, so actually doing performing operas, um, choir on top of it. You have to go to, and then once you're done with all that, you have a thing called Convo, which is basically mandatory concerts you have to go to. You have to go to 25 concerts within a semester. So if you're not sleeping, you're either at a concert or you're in a practice room. And I did that for 6 years straight. And so basically, I have a master's level of music. I don't need to learn any. So it's it. I I think that if you are a musician who really, really wants to like pursue music, I think the one thing I would say though is if you feel like you're already really good and you feel like you don't need any extra like training, I just say go straight into the industry. But in my case, the way that I went is I wanted to make sure I knew everything before I jumped in, and so that's what I did. Granted, I'm old now, but like, but like, we can't all be winners.
No, that's not a bad thing. I honestly think, and I actually had a conversation about this with my sister. Even though you may know the ins and out of this, it doesn't hurt to go and learn more. Like, yeah,
Exactly.
you may have to start at the you may have to start at level one, sadly, but throughout your court, throughout the time you spent, you'll be leveling up your skills even more. So when you go out and do this, whether it's for gigs professionally, it's like, okay, I can take what I've learned and what I know and use it out
Exactly.
there. And I think, and I'm sure you can agree with this and be
Exactly. Yeah.
honest as you can. Advice for those who may want to consider going to schooling for this type of stuff, like the ins and outs, like be brutally honest as I say, because no sugarcoating this shit.
So here's my honest to goodness advice for the aspiring professional musician is I would honestly, if I could go back, is I would find specifically someone I want to work with and work with them. So what I mean is I would find a teacher, find a vocal coach, find a specific person and work with them. So like instead of spending like $57,000 on college, I would find someone who has connections that you feel comfortable with, that you want to pursue more music with. And so like when I went to, and the reason why I say this is that my third cousin in Switzerland is a very famous opera singer, Dame Gwyneth Jones. I took some lessons with her, and I was talking to her about my college. She's like, you don't really need college, right, to be an opera singer. And I was like, no. And she was like, no, you could find a hermit in the middle of a cabin in the woods, and if they know what you need to learn, you could just take it from them. And I was like, oh, okay. um, so I would go with her advice. So for me, I feel like I would save a couple years. Granted, I wouldn't meet all my friends or have the connections I have today without going to college, but if I already have my chops down, if I don't need to read sheet music, if I really just want to go out there and perform rock, I would just find a vocal coach, find a teacher that you click with, that you know will teach you what you need, and go for it there. And then continue pursuing music performances on top of other extracurriculars like work and such. I hope that doesn't sound like bleh, college, but like I feel like there's a lot of information that I feel like isn't totally necessary to being in a position where I'm at right now. If that makes sense. So if you want to be like the Beethoven, go to college. If you want to be the Van Halen, I say find Van Halen's like cousin. You know what I mean?
So, basically, to put it in nerd terms, find your Master Roshi or Jiraiya Sensei.
That's right. That's right. That is absolutely right. That is it's really, do you want to be a Saiyan in the symphony, or do you want to be a nine tails master at the nine string? You know what I'm saying?
I mean, yeah, to put it simply, yeah, like speaking of hermit in the middle of fucking nowhere, Master Roshi. I mean, minus the pervy part.
He has a pretty good house, I'll say that.
Doesn't bother him. He has a talking turtle and dudes.
Yeah, I mean, I can't complain to that. He got a 3-bedroom, 2-bath. He good.
As long as you know what I mean,
I digress.
so one of these things I like about these podcasts, there's gonna be busting up laughing somewhere. So before we get into some of my favorite questions that I ask in my other series, what are some songs you're wanting to like, whether it's a cover or a song, like a original song based off a game? What are some songs you would like to sing, or songs like you would like to make your own version of based off an anime or video game?
Yeah, that's a great question. So there's a few DDR songs that I would really, really like to cover, and I feel like I'm in a position, and I have friends right now where I can make it happen. There's a lot of EDM opera music in Dance Dance Revolution. So, for example, in DDR Supernova, there's a song called Zephyr. Zephyr is one of the reasons why I am an opera singer today. It is this epic track, like with tons of choral vocals and opera, with this like da, 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 kind of going on. I would love to do a cover with that, especially with my sister. If me and her can do Zephyr together, minds will be blown. It'll be like talking about other covers that are coming out. So this is music coming out.
Basically, this is like an exclusive
So
podcast.
there's a cover that I've been wanting to do for years in a professional setting, which is Silent Hill 4's Your Rain, but not Your Rain from the game, but DDR Extreme's Your Rain Rage Mix, which is like a hip hop version of that song. And it is so fucking good. And that's one of the songs Allie and I would always sing over and over and over to practice that kind of tone. And so we are working on a cover of it right now, and I'm actually recording the vocals for it tomorrow. So I'm excited about that. And it's gonna be taken back to 2002, like J-Lo, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's gonna be so good. But what's another one? Another song I'd really like to do is the one that you mentioned. Out of Darkness. I love that opening in Devil May Cry 4.
Oh, the one that Cutie is
Out
singing.
of darkness. I sing it all the time, but I just haven't had an opportunity to do it. But I think once I have a little extra time after my projects are clearing up, I want to do a cover of that because I love that song. It is really good.
It's a good intro to a great video game too.
Absolutely, absolutely. It's beautiful cinematography, beautiful vocals. I love the harmony in the middle part. I think that would be so fun. The more free time I have, the more fun stuff like that'll come. Oh
By the
yeah.
way, this will be coming out Friday. This
Okay.
coming out this upcoming Friday. So I think, yeah, this will be out by the same time as. I think this will be coming out this. I don't know. I gotta look at that.
Oh, is DMC4 kind of coming out? Did it come out around this time?
Oh no, no, I'm just saying this video.
Oh.
It will come out this upcoming Friday. So a week
Okay.
before. I think it will be a week before. Yeah, a week before Gym State.
Oh,
So give
cool. All right, hi, Idaho crew.
it'll give you time to, for me to post this, for me to share it, for you to share it. So
Sure.
for those who are, going, they can see, learn more about you when they go
Yeah,
see.
actually, that would be sick. Yeah.
Give people like a week, like to know like who you are and everything.
Exactly. Thank you, brother. Respect that.
Oh no, of course. Um, so as a singer, and I know many singers over the years have probably had this, even though some don't want to admit it. Have there been times where like you've almost thrown out your voice with whatever song you're
Oh,
singing?
yes. Oh, yes. So, one of the things that you learn in your vocal degree or like in your vocal studies is how important vocal health is. And I learned really the hard way that voice is something that you don't really want to mess with, especially if you're in a level where I am. Because this is a story that happened last year. So this happened right after Anime Expo. So the week after I came back from Los Angeles, I flew from LA and went straight to Kenai, Alaska, in the middle of nowhere to teach a music camp for my tribe. So I'm Alaska Native. I'm part of the Kenaitze Indian tribe represent. And so I was teaching a music camp over there because I wanted to give back to my friends and their kids and stuff. And I was also doing some trainings with the new staff. And unfortunately, the equipment that they had, like the microphones and stuff, they were like out of juice. And so I was for 2 weeks straight, like yelling and over singing and over talking, and I lost my voice for 3 weeks. Like when I came back, I thought I had lymph nodes. I thought I had nodes. I could not hit anything above a register A4, which is just like right in the middle of the fucking staff, which is nothing. And so that was bad. I could not teach, so the way I pay rent is I teach music to at several music schools in the Portland community. I could not teach my singers. I could teach my piano kids. I could teach my youth kids. I could not teach any vocals for 3 weeks. I could not talk. I did not talk for 3 weeks. I had to get a special honey called Manuka honey, which is it's like a healing, like what do you call it, medicinal honey. It's not really like the good stuff you put on like your sandwich. It's very thick.
Well, I know what you're talking. It's to help soothe the throat, like you put in tea and everything.
Exactly. So I was on the Manuka, and then God, what else happened? I had to call a ENT, ear, nose, and throat doctor because I wanted to double check and get a scope of my throat to make sure I didn't bust myself. But I didn't. Thankfully, I did not develop nodes. I just had a really, really sore throat. But it's things like that where it's like you come from like the peak of your performance to going to your hometown to losing your voice. um, so like
Yeah.
it's it's a lesson that every vocalist learns. I learned it, and I do not recommend it. Especially like, for example, last night I was at the Sonic Symphony. I fucking love Sonic. I give up. I admit it. I fucking love Sonic. And I went to the Sonic Symphony, and the first half, which had no vocal music, I was already screaming and stuff like ah. But I realized I was like, oh god, I won't be able to sing anything if I don't like get some water and hydrate for the second half. So I stopped cheering for like the first half of the concert. Went got a bottle of water, chugged it, did some vocal warm ups, sang for like an hour and a half straight, all the Sonic music, and came back home and I did like my vocal routine of like steam treatment, which is like just breathing in steam, honey and tea, and I can talk today. So like, there's things you can do.
So basically, like when you lost your voice, you're basically like being Ariel for 3 weeks. You just kind of.
Oh God, I felt so screwed, dude. I was
That's like
like, I
that meant
couldn't
like
make
your voice was
money.
like.
I couldn't have fun. I couldn't just go like, because like as a lot of vocalists do, sometimes you catch yourself just singing when you're like having a good time. Couldn't even do that. So like, it blew. But I am so grateful that I was able to recover because it's not fun being Ariel in a beach rag at the first half of the movie.
Your voice literally is how you pay rent. That is your job. Your voice
It
is your
is.
job.
It's like straight up my job. The money that I make is strictly music, which by the way, for the audience, it is so possible to make money as a musician. That the whole lie of you can't, it's a lie. You have to be really smart though. Because I got to a point where I make music from residuals from my music already. So at the end of the month I get a check for the songs I release. I teach like basically full time. So like 5 days a week I'm teaching students how to sing, how to play beginner piano. Do not take my lessons if you want to learn real piano, just straight up. But I'll teach you the basics. and and then when I have the extra time, or like when we have concerts, I'll perform, and then the merch sales go directly towards the band. So yeah, it's totally possible.
You're a full-time full-blown time musician.
Full-time musician. Yeah, I would love to cut back on the teaching and do more performing, but within time, within time.
Sometimes you need that little extra money because I know, like, when
Yeah.
when it comes to any type of full-time professional thing, whether it's full-time content creator or voice actor, like you got to start somewhere. Because I know sometimes it doesn't hurt to like have like your standard, you know, 9 to 5 job
Ab-
while you're still pursuing what you want to
Absolutely.
do.
It's
But like
it's
you put yourself through the ringer where you're like, I can do this full time and have no issue.
Exactly. So, and of course, the musician lifestyle is very similar to the artist lifestyle. You are kind of doing what you can, but on top of it too, though, it's like it's very imperative, especially for beginning artists or beginning musicians, to have other work besides your instrument, because there are going to be periods like the pandemic where I could not do my job at all. I couldn't do radio. I was in a radio at one point. I couldn't do radio. I couldn't do voice. I couldn't do anything. So you have to rely on other skills you have to get there. Now it took me like 2 years to finally have a full-time music gig, but it's possible. It really is possible.
I wholeheartedly believe it. Now on to some of my favorite questions. Have you ever? It's a question I ask for those who are familiar with this channel. When it comes to my cosplay contact, I have two favorite questions I always like to ask. Have you ever had any weird, awkward horror story moments while doing what you do? Like it was kind
Oh,
of as I call it a what the fuck moment to like, did that actually happen to like, okay, I just need to go this way now. Like, screw you guys, I'm doing him.
okay, let's see. Let's talk about one that's in person and one that's not in person. So let's talk about the not in person one because I think this is the most crazy and fucked up one. So, do you
Like, is it appropriate? Is the question really?
Yeah, it is. It is, but let's just say it's a part of Christery. So like basically, back in the day, so like we're talking like 2009, 2010, there was a Nintendo DS program called Flipnote Hatena. And
I've heard of
basically it was for people to create little cartoons and post them on their server. Now, my sister,
DS, right?
huh?
It was for the DS, right?
Yes, it was for the
Okay,
DSi.
I remember.
Yeah. And so my sister and I were socialites, little influencers on that channel. And so I would release music and my sister would do cartoons. And fucking Chris Chan was hitting me. I know. Fucking Chris Chan was in my DMs going like, "Hey baby, you're cute. How old are you? Are you boyfriend free girl?" And Yeah. So I blocked his ass or her ass, pardon me, and yeah, no, so I'm a part of Christery. It's awful. I hate it. Unfortunately the comments were not saved, but the videos are still there. So like yeah, that's the worst one. And that didn't even happen in person. I was at a Native Youth Olympics competition when that shit was going down. So like yeah, no, that's the worst one. But in person, the funny thing is that I haven't dealt with anyone like really hardcore or weird in person with with Iggy Pop. Everyone's very cordial and supportive. I've never really dealt with any overt craziness at the moment. But maybe Jeff State will be different. Who's
Never say,
it gonna be?
as I always say when people mention up like I don't have it, like, well, never say never because it could happen. Just don't blame me
Yeah.
if it happens.
Oh, of course, every convention has their favorite whirlwind of a person.
Uh, so yeah, like you said, everyone has their weird convention moments. Blah 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 blah. Another question I always ask, because I know it's so what are some of your favorite moments? Like, is it from to this day? It's something you'll always remember because like it was like the coolest thing ever.
Oh, that's a great question. But that's a hard one because it's so subjective. I guess at least with the most recent thing has to be last night. Sonic fucking Symphony was so good. It was literally there's video of me. I
I,
found
I
video of
saw
me
the video on your Instagram.
headbanging. So I was wearing this opera gown, like this full opera gown with like the beautiful tassels. And I brought my Vector. Vector's my favorite Sonic character. So I brought my Vector doll, and he had a little bow tie. And there's video of me. Thank God we got these seats because there was like a guardrail and stuff. There's video of me grabbing the rail and doing a full 360 like headbang with like my long ass hair. And then there's a picture of me with my Vector doll, and I'm doing this to like fucking break through it all.
Well,
I
luckily, it didn't Vector.
Oh, I love yeah, no, Vector like the Chaotix are a reason why I'm a musician too. Funnily enough. They're broke, they like music, they solve their own problems and they have tax deductions to survive. I respect that. So no, yeah, that was the moment they played Sonic Heroes music, that was the peak because that Sonic Heroes is like the like
Are you talking about like the
the
intro of Sonic Heroes?
no, it was What I'm Made Of, which is the ending song to Sonic
Oh,
Heroes from the secret ending. And that's my shit. Like whenever whenever I go to like Tokyo, whenever I go to the karaoke machine, the first thing I put in is What I'm Made Of by Crush 40 and like the Shadow with a Gun song. And they played it and it was so validating as a goddamn Sonic nerd. So I gotta say, in recent memory, that was it. That was so fucking peak.
right.
The only way to make it more peak would be to hear Crush 40 perform it. So almost there.
So I gotta ask, did they play Escape from the City?
Yes, and they said the production crew said that our version in Portland was the best version they've heard from all the chorus, like the crowd. Um, because you can hear me in the audio because there's a few videos right now of Escape from City. You can hear the harmonies, like people were harmonizing with it, and my ass was like screaming the third harmony. And it sounds really good. The whole energy was so good. I'm hoping that they release like a recording of that symphony, specifically the Portland one, because it was just so good. Like, it's so fucking good.
So now another question, because I kind of want to bring some cosplay content into this, because I like collaborating my other series with other ones. Have you
Mhm.
ever cosplayed while doing a show?
So no, actually. So I do Harajuku fashion. So I like to dress in my designer brands as I perform. I actually
Like
never. It's really it's kind of funny that you mentioned that because I do cosplays really only during Halloween. I know, right? Like I did do some cosplay this summer with some friends of mine who are anime fans in Soldotna, Alaska. They love Genshin Impact. I don't know jack. I'm a Gen Z boomer. I don't know jack shit about Genshin Impact. And so they're like, "Put on this wig, put on this thing, you'll look great." And I'm like, "What's his character?" He's like, "He's stoic." All right. Like 200 likes or something like that. Like I'm like I wrote in the comments, I'm like, I don't know this guy. I do not know this guy. Who is he? Um, but I would like to do maybe at least with performances, some more inspired Harajuku fashion from characters I like. So like for example, I really love like for example Tamari from Naruto. I think that it'd be really cool. Now, granted my hair is really long, but it would be really cool to do a look based off of her. Or like Larxene from Kingdom Hearts, like something like the slick back. Like, I
Yeah.
love her. I know she's a bitch. I know she's a bitch, but she's my bitch. So
Her and her and oh god, what's his name? I can't remember his name, but he's the little fucking twig that says "Dance Water Dance."
he's my second favorite. I love Demix. He's actually Demix is another reason I'm a goddamn musician. I honestly think that
Oh,
Demix influenced my taste in boys because my partner Connor is one of the best guitar players in Idaho. Like hands down one of the top best guitarists in Idaho. And I'm pretty sure it's because he had that charm, that Demix charm. You know what I'm saying?
no disrespect against Demick. It's just fighting him the second time when you're in Hollow Bastion is a lot harder than when
Fair.
you're fighting him and when you're fighting him in the underworld because it's just
I will agree. I will agree. I will agree that fight in the Hollow Bastion sucked. I honestly cried when he died. I'll admit it. I was 10. I love the bitch. Rest in peace, bitch.
don't that better. Um. So Oh yeah. So it's a new question. It's a question I asked when I was a question I asked in an interview back at Kamori Con. What do you think your younger self would say if you told him, "Hey, this is what we're doing. Like we started this when we were kids with video games. Now we're like this is a full-blown career." What do you think they would
Oh,
say?
I'd be so proud of where I am today. I feel like I finally am at a point where I am validating what I always wanted to do. And it's only going up from here. Like this is just the start of something even bigger. And so I'm so grateful I stuck to my guns with what I liked, with what I wanted to do, what I wanted to pursue because growing up in butt fuck Alaska with a bunch of losers. No, I like half of you guys. No. Growing up with adversity too. Basically, let me rephrase that. Sorry, Alaska, I love you. Um, Growing up with adversity to nerd culture in a small town and being forced to conform is one of the hardest things to do as a young nerd, but being able to leave, to be validated, to be empowered, and not only to have that empowerment, but to continue adding to the culture is one of the greatest things you can do as an artist. Because as I said in the early 2000s, it was a completely different ball game. You were bullied. Like people call you on the phone and call you names just for like liking Naruto, which was on Toonami, which is like Cartoon Network. You know what I mean? Like, and going now to where there are kids who love these shows who will go up to you and go, "Holy shit, that's awesome!" Blah blah blah. It's validating. It really and like going to that concert last night. Like I said, it was the most validating fucking thing in the world because I love Sonic so fucking much, specifically the Chaotix, but I love Sonic so fucking much that it influenced me as an artist so much to be in a room harmonizing with people who are on the same level, and not only just people like me, like who are like late 20s, but like dads who grew up with the original, kids who like Frontiers. It's cool. So yeah.
I'm quite jealous. It's actually speaking of, it's kind of cool seeing that there are these places that are doing these nerd themed symphonies. Like there's the Final Fantasy one.
Oh
There's
yeah.
there's like Halo, Sonic, Devil May Cry, Genshin Impact, all that. Like, and even nowadays, like the people who would bully you back then, like it's like they're into it now. So it's like, oh, nice.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, when you made fun of me, you can't be in like, hey, you like that? Well, who's your favorite character? Batman or
See,
Superman?
see, I'm a vengeful bitch. I'm different. But no, I think it's awesome. I think it is a fantastic step moving forward within the nerd culture, within the anime, within the otaku fandom, within the video game fandom. I think that being able to be at a level where many people can appreciate it is very validating, and I really hope that this trend continues, um where it's not even like shameful to know who your favorite Glub Shido is in Star Wars, you know what I mean? Like,
I feel that. Now one more question before the final one. What kind of impact has this had on you as a whole?
man, like my artistry, or like,
Just in general, like the impact this has had on your life in general. Like, did
man,
you ever
my
expect like it would be like this, being stuff like going to like other parts of the world, working on in
yeah,
video games and
I
stuff like that?
think I think that my journey as an artist is really unique, and I think I'm very grateful for it. I'm grateful that I had supporting parents who like were encouraging not only of the culture, as there is a, as there's a connection there, but in our interests too, and finally getting to a level where, after college, going and actually working with these artists, working with these fashion brands, being featured in magazines, being performing at Anime Expo, the biggest convention in the fucking world. Like, it is so validating, and I just want to keep going from there because there's just so much more to do. There's so much more I want to do. Um that I just want to keep going. Like, I want to move from the indie scene into AAA. Now, granted, that has a lot more hurdles to it,
Oh, yeah,
depending on what I want to do.
there's that gray area with the AAA industry.
Oh yeah, trust me, I don't want to work with Activision. You bitches suck. I don't want to work with you. But like, there's
Oh, no,
a lot. The industry is a very complex one, and I find where I'm at right now, I'm only going up from there. So as long as I can continue doing what I'm doing, enjoying what I love, continuing to appreciate the games and anime and culture that I grew up with, and allowing others to feel that same energy, is and continuing going from there, is going to be awesome. I'm grateful. I think I have a really awesome life. And so I want to keep having an awesome life.
Um. Oh yeah. So for those who are watching and are listening to this, any last minute advice you just want to throw out there, just in general?
Yeah, so the biggest advice I have to everyone is just continue loving what you love. Don't let anybody say otherwise. Don't let anyone force you to not like something. Don't let anyone tell you that it's stupid or worthless, because you could actually make a career in it. You can actually pursue things to a higher level, and you can even be in a community where you feel validated for it. um and I know people are like, oh, never give up. It's true though. The dreams can be made reality by how much energy you put into it. So if you want your dreams to be reality, keep going. What's stopping you? you know there's nothing in the world stopping you.
Except yourself.
I say go for it.
Yeah, no, I agree. Like, and like I said, the only if anyone is stopping you, is yourself from pursuing these dreams you
Yeah,
love.
the biggest critic that I find, especially with my vocal students, especially with my music students, is themselves. So on top of not only having an outside validation, be sure to validate yourself inside. The like I give my relationship advice: you gotta be your girlfriend and your daddy. You know what I mean? You gotta you gotta you gotta be on your field. And I know it can be really hard to be on your field, but if you are on your field, then anything really is possible.
That's honestly really good sound advice.
That's right. You got to be your own daddy, and you got to be your own girlfriend. You got to be on your quarter. So keep it going. Let's see what characters are like that. Uh, be
Ichigo's
the
Ichigo's dad is basically a mom and a dad.
There
He's
you
a
go. Be Ichigo's dad. Be that little Hamtaro guy with the hat.
I
Like
want to
I
know
forget
who that.
his name, but be the leader.
Boss. That's his name.
That's right. Be boss. You gotta be a boss inside.
To quote Shia LaBeouf, just oh god, no, I'm gonna finish that.
Just do it. That's right. Don't let your dreams be memes.
Oh god.
Hopefully your memes don't become no. No, keep it happening.
So last but not least, would you care to drop your links below so people can follow you, stay up to date with your music, where you may play next, and also, of course, so they can keep an eye for you at Gym State. Well, by the time this is out this month.
Yeah. So be sure to check me out. It's Igiko Pop. So my YouTube, if you look up Igiko Pop, you'll see me. Instagram, it's Igiko Igiko _ pop POP. TikTok, Igiko Pop. I'm pretty sure it's just straight Igiko Pop. And then Twitter, which I don't recommend, is Igiko Igiko .pop. So you can also, if you don't want to go through all those links, I do have a link tree. So if you want all of those all together, it's Linktree, so LINK.TR hyphen Igiko Pop. And that has everything. It has the most recent concerts, it has my merch store, it has all the socials, and it also has links to all the music distribution services that play our music. So yeah.
And if I ever see you at a con, I'll have to make sure to thank you interview and thank you in person as well.
Oh, absolutely, yes. And actually talking about performances, so the next performances that I have are going to be at Gem State Comic Con April 6th and 7th in Boise, Idaho. The next one after that is Beaver State Comic Con, which is on May 11th, I believe in Bend, Oregon.
Yes.
I believe Bend, Oregon. And hopefully we should be back at Anime Expo. I don't know yet. If I'm not at Anime Expo, you'll catch me in Stockholm, Sweden at the 90s EDM concert with Endigo and Ali. So hopefully I'll see you in LA. But if not, I'll see you in Stockholm.
Oh yeah. Well, Igiko, I finally got the name. Yes, yay!
Yay! Yay!
Final Fantasy fanfare. Thank you again for coming on. Can't wait to see what you do in the future. And yeah, no, seriously, thank you for coming on for this interview.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for the interview. It was an awesome opportunity. It was a pleasure talking to you, and I can't wait to see you all in Idaho or in other places.
And as always, I'm Wayne the Unknown. Until next time, thank you for listening, and as always, thank you for watching.